podcast from Queensland Corrective Services.
This is Take a Look Inside, a podcast from Queensland Corrective Services. Today we're talking to Chief Superintendent Sally Ann Gray. Sally's the Chief Inspector of Prisons in Queensland. Good morning, Sally. Before we start, could you give us a quick overview of what the Chief Inspector does?
Yes, good morning. Look, the Office of the Chief Inspector is responsible for a program of healthy prisons inspections, as well as the delivery of the Official Visitor Scheme. The Official Visitor Scheme has actually been in operation since 1989. We have a state coordinator who manages and oversees this program, and we have just under 40 official visitors who deliver services as community, legal, or Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander official visitors. Our Official Visitor Scheme plays a really important role in the Queensland correctional system by ensuring a regular, accessible, independent program of visitation to assist prisoners to manage and resolve their complaints. As community representatives, official visitors provide a further mechanism for ensuring that administrative decisions made within corrective services facilities are transparent and accountable.
Great. So obviously you would have been impacted by the COVID restrictions that we've had to put in place to make sure that we didn't have an outbreak in our prisons.
Yeah, look, definitely. On the 27th of March, when the Commissioner determined that on the Queensland Health and Chief Health Officer advice that we were required to move to Stage 3 restrictions, this meant that the official visitors were no longer able to attend the correctional centres in person to conduct their various tasks, such as their welfare checks, their interviews with prisoners and reviews. So official visitors actually have many legislative obligations under the Corrective Services Act, and some are in relation to the independent review of segregation orders, such as safety orders and maximum security orders. So this was a particular function that was absolutely critical for us to maintain, even during such challenging times of pandemic. So this meant that we very quickly had to review our operations and come up with some creative and alternative approaches to our business. We certainly maintained our privileged mail service, and we made sure that prisoners in all centres across the state knew that they could still write to official visitors to raise issues via that free and confidential mail service. However, we really still needed a way to be able to reach in and speak to prisoners so that we to those reviews. So it was really important for us to work with each of the individual correctional centres to establish what was going to work best at their facilities based on their local needs, their infrastructure, access to technology, and all of those kinds of things. So effectively, able to come up with for the completion of those consecutive safety order and maximum security order reviews was a relatively simple three-stage process where we provided the official visitors via the secure departmental email all of the relevant review materials they required. Then we scheduled a telephone or a video conference appointment between the prisoner and the official visitor. Then we had a follow-up telephone or video conference contact between the official visitor and the state coordinator as a conduit to any additional or follow-up information or contact that needed to be arranged to complete that review. Now, I know that might sound fairly straightforward, but it was actually quite a logistical feat. We had 11 different secure facilities, each with different communication devices and platforms, different booking systems, different access times. So, look, I think it's really critical to recognise the absolute overwhelming support and cooperation we received from all of the correctional centres, from the chief superintendents who approved the contacts to the administration staff that assisted with the bookings, and then the correctional staff who facilitated those appointments and interviews. Certainly, without all of them, we wouldn't be able to have done what we've done. So we were also able to conduct some welfare visits, like some virtual welfare visits. So through scheduling with the correctional centres, we arranged some individual, private, confidential phone calls and video link-ups with some of our higher risk and more vulnerable prisoners in instances where they're able to raise their concerns in writing at that particular time. We also thought outside of the box and looked to alternative scheduling that might have been outside of our normal days and times for service delivery, but still within the structured day of different correctional centres. So, for example, a weekend telephone link up between a prisoner and an official visitor. Another really important modification to our business was how we actually made contact with our team of official visitors who are spread right across the state. So historically, we've tended to either have individual contact or travel to those centres or regions to have that in-person contact. But obviously with travel restrictions, remote working arrangements for some QCS staff, and just the frantic pace of keeping up with everything in those initial stages of responding to the pandemic, we really needed a far easier, more efficient and more inclusive way of keeping connected with all of our official visitors. So what we did, we activated a web-based SMS or text messaging service so that we could send the same message at the same time to everybody. But more importantly, what the state coordinator was able to do was establish some regular virtual meetings and professional development sessions with the official visitors.
And how did you find these alternative approaches worked during this difficult time?
Look, as terrible as the impact of the pandemic has certainly been on individuals and communities, it's really presented us with some unique opportunities, and we've actually had some great success and implemented some practice improvements that will really continue into the future. First and foremost, we were actually able to meet the strict timeframes and the legislative requirements associated with the review of every single consecutive safety order and maximum security order review during this period. So that's quite an achievement. And we were also able to gain efficiencies in regards to being able to schedule official visitors to conduct reviews at any correctional centre around the state, regardless of where the official visitor was actually located. And what that's done is effectively further opened up our correctional centres, which really contributes to increased transparency and accountability in what's often perceived as closed institutional environments. Look, the thing I guess I'm most proud of is all the effort and work that the state coordinator and the official visitors put into setting up those regular virtual meetings and professional development sessions. And it's quite ironic that in a time where people have been isolating so much, that this team has actually become more connected than ever before. And there's been a real community of practice that's been established, and that's really seen some great improvements to the quality of the reviews and the work produced.
So, Sally, we know that we're planning now for recovery from the pandemic. So, from your perspective, what does recovery in the future state look like?
Yeah, look, we're really looking forward to the move back to those stage 2 restrictions as of the 12th of June, obviously subject to the advice of Queensland Health and the Chief Health Officer. But there's definitely a critical need for us to maintain our face-to-face contact with prisoners so that we can continue to deliver a confidential, quality official visitor scheme. But given the benefits of our alternative service delivery approaches, we're really transitioning to a blended service delivery model as our new normal. So that will mean that we have a range of options about how we schedule and facilitate contact between prisoners and the official visitors. So that can be dependent on individual risks, needs and location. And look, in the past, we've had some instances where we've had to cancel or delay or reschedule some of those in-person contacts because of the various safety and security reasons that can inevitably present in correctional environments. But now we've got a range of alternative options to consider. So this is really going to increase the availability and accessibility of the program. And ultimately, having such a broader range of options will increase our flexibility and make sure that we can be more responsive and continue to contribute to those key strategic and operational goals related to safety and innovation and respect and accountability.
That's great, Sally. It sounds like you've made some real advances during this difficult time.
Absolutely. It's been hard work, but, you know, it's a great reflection of resilience and team effort.
Great. All right. Look, thank you very much for your time.
No worries. Thanks.